The first commander, the captain's most trusted and highest ranking subordinate. They are given the utmost authority over the crew and are meant to stand shoulder to shoulder beside their captain. It's the pinnacle of strength, loyalty, and dedication to their cause. But with a cast of characters literally meant to stand shoulder to shoulder by an emperor of the sea, it's inevitable that we will want to compare these characters and their abilities as the right hands of the world's strongest. So to celebrate the dawn of a new era for the One Piece world, let's rank all 10 of the major first commanders in their modern anime incarnation. And starting at number 10, we have Beppo. Moving on. At number 9, we have a first sort of real placement in the form of Killer. While Killer doesn't really stand much of a chance against the rest of this list, he's undoubtedly strong, fighting Hawkins, doing team attacks with post-Enema Zoro, and simply participating in Roof Piece. Fortunately for the worst generation, strong commanders just don't seem to be on their to-do list. But where this list really manages to start, it's going to be number 8 and number 7, King the Wildfire and Marco the Phoenix. Now I know, saying King, one of the strongest in the entire verse with durability to rival Kaido, at the bottom of this list, blasphemy. But let me explain. Unlike everyone on this list, King and Marco seem to completely lack any form of advanced haki, and both of them lack conquerors altogether. This forces King to over-rely on his Lunarian blood to be top tier in the true sense. And while yes, when his flame is on, his defense is bolstered to nigh Yonko levels. But to deliver fast and effective attacks against someone on a first commander level, he seems to have to enter his flame off mode, where he's far more vulnerable. And while King is undoubtedly a beast, both he and Queen struggled to handle Marco alone. And while Marco does heavily rely on his Devil Fruit, giving him durability to tank even Emperor level attacks on the regular, and more than enough speed to outpace King, his lack of better haki feats hold him back from being higher on this list. At number 6 and number 5, however, we have the Flame Emperor Sabo and the Minister of Flower, Katakuri. Now, I'll openly admit, Sabo can sort of be anywhere. His lack of feats from only fighting heavily suppressed admirals, and the fact that he has sort of a newly acquired Devil Fruit doesn't really bode too well for him. But because of his place in the story, and because of his all but confirmed advanced armament haki, I had to place him above these haki-less heathens. But for Katakuri, I simply think it's time to stop with downplay. Kot is revered as the undefeatable man whose back has never even touched the ground for a reason. With only a single L on his entire record up to this point, by the man himself, by surrender I might add, he is easily the most skilled and powerful on the list so far. Katakuri's advanced observation haki was so good that it could help him dodge and blitz around Snake Man Luffy, who at this point was also using Future Sight. His armament was hard enough to not only tank a King Cobra to the face, but then go on to one-shot that same Snake Man Luffy with a Buzzcut Mochi. He's also the first character to bring up the idea of higher levels of armament, not to mention having the Conqueror's Spirit as well. This is all to neglect his awakened Devil Fruit, which allows him complete intangibility to attack slower than his own. It gives him replicas of almost all of Luffy's moves, and provides him insane area control. Overall, as long as Katakuri can hurt the people below him, which he pretty much most certainly could, I have no doubt that his superior skill and experience plus advanced haki would carry him. At number 4 and 3, I have the King of Hell Zoro and Shiryu of the Rain. Now, if this was beginning of Wano Zoro, he would be having the same fate as Killer and Beppo. However, throughout the course of the raid, this man has had the biggest glow up this side of Luffy. He participated in Roof Piece, squared off with King, unlocked advanced armament haki, scared Big Bomb and Kaido, and on top of all this, with his 9-sword style technique, he managed the impossible and cut the strongest creature, King of Beasts, Kaido. Without that particular feat, I likely would have had to put Zoro around Sabo's location, but as of now, his haki skill and training are just way too strong not to place him this high. As for Shiryu, he himself is basically featless, although he could scale the pre-time skip Blackbeard back then. who himself could already defeat competent Yonko commanders like Ace. The main reason he's here is because Shiryu is undoubtedly one of Zoro's future opponents, and his simple standing in the story, combined with his newly acquired devil fruit and experience, I think just has to put him around number 3. And for the sort of obvious ones, at number 2 and number 1, we have Ben Beckman and the Dark King himself, Silver's Ray Lee. To get this out of the way, Beckman's only real feat is holding Kizaru at gunpoint, but the weight his name holds within the world of One Piece is pretty extreme. With his very own Viva card stating that he is both the smartest man in East Blue and that his very existence is comparable to red-haired Shanks. While this should be taken with a grain of salt, since these cards aren't always the most accurate, just by his position in the story combined with his lore, I can't possibly put him any lower. But for Silver's Ray Lee, yeah, no grains of salt for this man. Advanced armament hockey, advanced observation, an insane amount of experience. Squares off with Kizaru in a one-on-one sword fight as an old man. That's all just the tip of the iceberg. He easily managed to bully Gear 4th Luffy, speed blitzing and one-shotting him. He should be similar to Kozuki Odin, at least in his prime, considering that Scopper Gabon, someone who was weaker than Ray Lee, stalemated him. And later in the manga, he even claims that he could potentially have beaten a post-time skip Blackbeard in his prime. So with all that, I can't possibly put anyone else at number 1 but the right hand of the Pirate King himself, Silver's Ray Lee. So, do you agree with my list? Is Marco too low? Maybe have some King enjoyers here? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you have any recommendations for a series or topic you'd like to see covered, tell me about that too. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks, everyone.